One of the phrases I used to use to describe my life before I learned releasing is that of being stuck in a rut. Weeks, months, years would go by, and my life would just be the same old, same old. And when I recognized I was in these situations, it felt horrible, soul-crushing. But thankfully, I learned how to release. And if you've been feeling stuck, I'm going to show you how to start moving forward in your life, starting now. Welcome to the Power of Quiet, the simple way to self-realization. So if you want total control over your mind and more happiness and abundance in your life, then you've come to the right place. So if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. You're going to love what we show you, primarily because it is 100% experiential, meaning you have to take our word for it, but try what we show you. Take it for checking and see the results that you get. And if you're a regular here and you love the work that we do, then let us know. Hit the like button below and share this video with your friends. Let's spread this wonderful releasing method and make the whole world a much more positive, a harmonious place. Now, I want to share with you a story I read. This is like a news article that I read one time while I was out here in Europe visiting, doing a retreat. And see, over here in Europe, they have wonderful public transportation. They have trains and trams everywhere. They all run on time. You can get anywhere you want. You don't even need to own a car, right? It's wonderful. So, trains are pretty much built into everyone's life. And this article that I was reading was about this lady who took the train to work every day. And while she was at work, she had her lunch break. And she decided during her lunch break, she was going to go out and grab a bite to eat. And she'll be passing by the train station near her work. And she figured, well, I need to charge up my travel card and, put more money on it for my ride home. And it's better when I have the time to do it now during lunch rather than after work when the station's going to be busy and I want to get home. I'm going to just charge it up now so that, when the end of the day comes, I'll be ready to go and I can just go right through the gates and get on the train. So she went to grab lunch. She stopped by the train station, went up to the kiosk where she puts her card in and adds more money to it. And once she did that, she walks right through the turnstiles, hops on the next train, and starts heading home. And it wasn't until the train made a couple stops back towards her home that she realized, wait a minute, what am I doing? It's the middle of the day. I'm supposed to go back to work. And so she had to hop off at the next station, go across to the other platform, and then find the next train going back the opposite direction where she can get off and go back to work. And this story kind of tickled me because it's a great demonstration of how we get on automatic. We've all experienced this, how we're walking down the street, we're intending to go to the grocery store, and we know it's 3 blocks down, then we're going to take a left, and it's another block, and there's the store. But we start walking, and then we start getting lost in thought. And before we know it, we're 7 blocks down realizing, wait a minute, where am I going? Or sometimes we go off driving in the weekend, running some errands, and all of a sudden we see ourselves driving up to our workplace. Like, wait, what am I doing here? It's Saturday. And so these little things just show how we get stuck on automatic, lost in thought. And some of these little automatic tendencies that we get hung up on, a lot of them are just benign, like walking a few blocks further down the street, right? No big deal. Some of these automatic tendencies are much more sinister, where we see ourselves repeating self-destructive patterns, those types of tendencies, where we sabotage ourselves, or we just kind of get stuck in a certain situation in life. And we could feel that we're stuck, like there's a certain goal that we're looking for. We're just not getting to it. Or like I experienced before I learned releasing, what I found when I look back on my life is how much I was like sleepwalking through life, through all of it. It was like day in and day out, I was always doing the same thing. I would get up, go to work, I would come home, play some video games, watch some television, have dinner, go to bed, get up, go to work, and repeat the whole same scenario. And maybe on the weekends I would go out, have some fun, meet some friends, and then Monday do it all over again. And I realized my whole life was just the same old, week after week, month after month, year after year. And I just felt like a zombie, a literal zombie walking through life. And it wasn't until something had really shook me up in life, where I got laid off from a job that I loved and valued so much, that it kind of, splashed cold water on my face and got me to look around and go, what am I doing with my life? Why am I here? What am I looking for? What is my purpose here? Is it to work 9 to 5, have a little bit of entertainment, binge watch television or get online? Or is there something else that is more fulfilling for me to have here? And it was that question that eventually, very quickly, got me to this method where it unlocked all the answers to that question of what is my purpose in life, and got me into a place where my life has been ever more alive as the years go by. I just get more present, more awake. I have more power and control over my life and more purpose in everything that I do. And so I want to share some of what I've discovered and share one of the basic fundamental lessons of this course that gives us a very good understanding of how the mind works and what we should do about that mind. Now, before I get into that, I just want to point out that Lester made a big point to talk about dropping tendencies that we have. And we all have tendencies, like little patterns that we do, little kind of self-automation programs that we put ourselves on. And we do these sorts of programming into our lives where we do it as a thinking saver, as an energy saver. We just put part of our life on automatic. So it forms a routine. We don't have to think about it much. And it just kind of works for us. Like it could just be our daily habit where we get up in the morning, first thing we do is we turn on the espresso maker. Right? We turn on the coffee machine, let it heat up. And while it's doing that, we're going to get in the shower, get ready, get all freshened up, smell nice, and feel a little bit more alive. And now the coffee is ready. All right, I'm going to have my first sip of coffee. Now I'm going to take about 30 minutes to chill out and just reflect on the day. I'm going to do that. And now I got my first project to work on. Right? So we kind of set routines, things like that. And like I said, sometimes we program ourselves into these patterns as a sort of productivity mechanism or a thinking saver, an energy saver, right? So I don't have to put much effort into it. My life functions like that. But the problem is, the more we program in these little tendencies and patterns and programs, they kind of eventually take over our life. And we can't break out of them. To the effect that if I get up in the morning and my coffee machine isn't working or I'm out of coffee, uh-oh, that ruins my day. Wait, everything's messed up now. And I can't focus myself to start on my first project, right? So that's one effect that could happen is if something goes haywire, then we're all discombobulated. And we need that little program in order to feel more safe and secure, feel more at ease or in control in our life. And if everything isn't working properly, we don't know what to do about it. So it kind of robs us of our freedom and will and our ability to adapt the more we program ourselves. And so Lester recommended dropping these tendencies. And even Eckhart Tolle talks about being in a place where you're just not running on automatic at all. I think his simple term for this state is that of unconditioned consciousness. And that's a great description because it's being conscious in an unconditioned way, which means just being completely present in the moment and having the freedom at any moment to go left or go right. And it makes no difference. And there's no resistance in going in any direction with any decision that you have in life. That's a good sign of personal freedom. And that's why these various realized masters talk about getting off of automatic and being in a state of unconditioned consciousness. So let's talk about the mind for a moment so we can understand how we get ourselves on automatic. And more importantly, how to get ourselves off of automatic. Now, this is one of the key lessons in Lester's basic course that contributes to all the fundamentals in using Lester's 6 steps to freedom effectively. And this key lesson here, it's about the mind and understanding that there's 3 aspects to the mind. Now, the first aspect to the mind is simple. It's what we call the sensing aspect. Right? We sense things like it's hot or it's cold. Right? We have that aspect to the mind, and animals have that aspect to the mind. Right? We have our 5 senses, and we're aware of all of them. So that's the first aspect of the mind. Now, the second aspect of the mind is something that we call the recording and playback aspect. If you look at your mind very carefully, what is it? First of all, how do you experience the mind? It's a voice that talks to you most of the time, right? It's a sound that plays in your head. And sometimes it plays a nice sound, but most of the time it's not so nice. It's very critical. It's very worrisome. It's fearful. It tells you things like, if you don't get what you want, you should beat yourself up. You should get frustrated, right? You should get upset. It tells you stuff like that. It's very judgmental. And so you have this voice that talks to you like this all the time. Now, where did this voice come from? Who gave it to you? Did God give it to you? Did your parents give it to you? It's your voice, isn't it? It belongs to you, and it only talks to you. So when you start to analyze how it talks to you, and that most of what it says is very negative, you wonder, well, where did all that negativity come from? Well, the mind is almost like a sponge. It just records and plays these things back to you. So all the fears and worries that creep into your consciousness every day, worries about your body, worried about what's going on the planet, worried about politics. Where'd all that noise come from? That's bombarding you every day. Well, your mind records it from everything that it sees. It picks up on the news, that it sees about other people getting sick and suffering, and it records that information in and goes, I don't want that to happen to me. But it doesn't know how to erase that information. It just records everything that it sees, and it plays it back to you, whether you want to listen to it or not. And when it stores all this information, this is how you start accumulating these automatic programs. And this is what it's like. See, this aspect of the mind is the same in us humans as it is in animals. Animals have this aspect of the mind too. And I'm sure you've heard of how when you take a baby elephant and you tie a rope around its leg and you stake that rope into the ground so that the baby elephant can't move, it records into its mind, hey, there's a rope tied around my leg. Well, I can't move. So after it grows up, and now it weighs, 2.5 tons, it still has that little tiny rope around its leg. But because it recorded into its mind that there's a rope around my leg, I can't move, it doesn't even try. Even though it could just take a step and go wherever it wants because it's a massive animal now. But it doesn't even try. It's on automatic, listening to that recording that's put into its mind. And so that's how us humans also operate. And this is how we find ourselves getting on automatic and getting stuck in life. And a lot of us, we're always looking for, well, what is the right strategy to get unstuck? Well, here's the simple answer that'll get you unstuck out of any situation. And that is understanding the third aspect of the mind, which is the ability to discriminate. You see, that is something that us humans have the ability to discriminate. Or in other words, just have discernment. See things clearly. That's what we're talking about. See, that's something that us humans have that animals don't have. And it's like if you're driving down the road and somebody pulls in front of you, slams on their brakes, and then sticks their finger out the window and gives you a rude gesture. If you watch what happens in slow motion, you'll see first, oftentimes, you go right into automatic. Your blood starts boiling. Your anger shoots up. And before you know it, you're chasing after this person, speeding right behind them, waiting to pull right up to them right at the next light. So you can roll down your window and tell them what you think about them. Give them the finger back. But let's say you get on automatic. You start speeding after them. And there you are. You pull right up to them. At the next light, you roll down your window. But then you notice, wait a minute. That person is 260 pounds, and they're built like a linebacker, right? All muscle. It's like, okay, maybe I won't mess with that person. Now that is the discrimination kicking in, right there. And that immediately takes you off of automatic, right? That checks your anger. You're like, okay, no, that's not a good idea. And that just puts you in the reality of the present moment, where you can make better decisions. And so it's this ability to discriminate that allows you to see things clearly and exist in a state of unconditioned consciousness. Now, how do you do that? Using the release method and eliminating the mind. Basically eliminating all that negativity that I was talking about earlier, all that criticism and talk about You should beat yourself up when you don't get your way, when you don't get what you want. You should feel frustrated, get upset, all that negativity, all the fear, all the frustration, all that stuff. Use the method. Start wiping that stuff out. The more you wipe it out, the more you take yourself off of automatic. And here's the thing. When you look at these tendencies that you have in life, now some of us, we look at certain things that we do. Some of them are like, hey, I like this thing, this little habit, this little ritual that I have in life. I enjoy it. It works for me. It helps me be productive. It helps me focus. Sometimes we get benefits from having certain tendencies or automatic behaviors and programs. But do we really need them? That's the key question. You see, if you had total discrimination at any given moment, you could just freely think about what to do, what's appropriate in any given moment, and just do it freely and easily. And if there is a tendency that you like, you can leave it. What is that saying that they have? It's something like, before realization, chop wood, carry water. After realization, chop wood, carry water. It doesn't matter what you do. The main difference is your attitude about yourself and your life, and not being identified with what you do. You just let it carry on, and that's just not part of me. I know who I really am, and that's just an appearance, and who cares if it goes on like that? Lester also talks about that too. He talks about when you reach enlightenment, you don't need to abandon your family, go up into a cave on a mountain. You might still work. You might still do the things that you're doing with your family. The difference is, what changes is your attitude towards it all, and being imperturbable about everything. And what I say is, what really matters is being in the place where it's okay if you have tendencies or rituals or habits. The difference is, do you have to? Or do you have the ability and the control over yourself to just turn them off the moment you so decide? Most of us, we can't. We're run by our habits. And those are the benign ones, right? And to the degree that we're run by our benign habits and tendencies, that makes us susceptible to being run by all those malicious ones. The ones that have us keep doing self-destructive things, things that we know aren't good for us, aren't good for our bodies, aren't good for our consciousness, aren't good for our mind, but we keep doing them anyway. And we're like, why can't I stop doing this? Or, like I described about my life, you just feel like we're just repeating the same patterns, the same stories, the same conversations, year after year, decade after decade. And like I said for myself, sometimes I can just feel soul crushing. Like, what am I doing with my life? Feeling lost or feeling left behind. And so, the solution to all of this is start just undoing all these automatic tendencies in the mind, letting go of all the negativity so that we could just be in the moment, unconditioned. Now, enough talking about it. You see, what we do here is experiential. And so I'm going to show you how to get yourself unstuck if you're finding yourself that way right now. I'm going to show you the first easy step that'll make a big difference for you right now. So think about something that you're stuck in your life. about or in right now. Maybe it's a work situation. Maybe you're stuck in a certain level of lifestyle. All right, whatever you see that you're not so happy about in your life. Now, before, I mentioned how the mind is just a recording and playback machine. All it does is it records things and it plays it back to you. Now, from the neck up, that's all it does. And from the neck up, it doesn't have an erase button. But where you do have an erase button, where you can start undoing these repeating sounds, these repeating patterns in your mind, right? It's just like a broken record. These same stories, same thoughts that run through your mind. The way you can erase that is from your neck down, in your stomach or chest area. That's where the erase button is. So what I want you to do is think about this area that you're stuck about in your life. And as you're thinking about this situation, notice if there's a tightness or contraction in your stomach or chest right now. Right? Just notice. You feel like a tight, clenching feeling. Right? Notice that. Now what that is you pushing down on the negativity that's been accumulated in your mind, or the frustration, for example. Right? You're feeling frustrated about it, but that frustration itself doesn't feel so good. You don't like being frustrated. So when you feel that frustration come up, you're like, get out of here, frustration. I don't want you here right now. Right? So you push it down. And when you push down your frustration and other negative feelings, you're not protecting yourself from these feelings. What you're actually doing is accumulating them more and more every time you suppress them. And so that's why you feel this contraction. It's like you're pushing down on that frustration of that stuck situation. Right? Just notice that. Right? Now, to undo this is super simple. All you have to do is open up an imaginary window or door. Wherever you feel that tightness or contraction in your stomach or chest there, just open up an imaginary door right in front of that. And that tightness, just imagine that as a ball of energy. And imagine that energy going right on out that door. Just imagine it leaving out the door. Whatever it looks like to you. You could see it as smoke moving out the door, or light pouring out, or water pouring out, bubbles floating out. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just imagine that energy going out that door now. Just watch it leave. And watch it leave some more. And some more. And even more. And there's nothing to figure out about this. You don't need to analyze what it is that's going out that door. You don't need to place any value on it whatsoever. It's just energy. That's it. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just energy passing through that door. So just let it leave out that door a little bit more. And some more. And even more. And even more. And notice how you feel now. Right? Just take a check, see how you feel. Notice if you feel a little bit lighter. That's all we're looking for. It's just a lighter feeling. And what that is your inner aliveness coming out now. That's the real you, the unconditioned you. And you're experiencing it now just as a lighter feeling. And the more you let go, the more this lighter feeling expands and shows up in the world in a really big way. Now we're going to do something a little bit different. Kind of the same, but a little bit different. Take a look at that situation again in your life, the one that you're stuck in. And see if you've been resisting that situation, resisting the stuckness in your life. And if you were to measure your resistance on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being no resistance, 0 being no resistance, and 10 being fully resistant, right? You can't stand it, right? Just measure yourself, see where you're at. Now, whatever number you're at, maybe it's just a little bit of resistance. Maybe you're at a 2. Maybe you're at a 7. Maybe you're at a 10. But whatever that number is, take a look at that resistance. And notice if you've been saying no to that resistance. Again, like with the frustration. You're like, resistance, I don't need you. You don't feel good. I don't want you here. Right? Just check. See if you've been saying no to that resistance. And when you say no to that resistance, does that make the resistance go away? It doesn't, does it? And by the way, here's another little example of that automatic nature of the mind. You see how easy it is to say no to resistance and other negative feelings that you have? You're like, no, I don't want you here. Get out of here. You don't have to think about it. It just happens immediately. Like, no, I don't want you. And that's something that just runs automatically. And like I said, when you resist and you say no to your feelings, you push them down and you accumulate more and more of them. That's how you get stuck. And when I asked, very simply, when you say no to that resistance, does it make it go away? The answer is obviously no. And that right there is the ability to discriminate. That's the part of you that can set you free. Because when you say clearly, no, saying no to the resistance doesn't help at all. Well, now I'm free to make a better decision. Because I could say no to that resistance and just keep on getting the same results I've been getting. Or I could do something different and see if I get different results. All right, so let's try something different now. Take a look at that resistance. Whether it's at a 2, a 7, a 10, whatever that number is. Just look at that resistance. And instead of saying no to the resistance, try saying yes to it. All right, try it out. Just say yes to that resistance. Not complicated, just 3 simple letters. Y-E-S. And could you say yes to that resistance a little bit more? And could you say yes to that resistance a little bit more? And could you say yes to that resistance even more? And could you say yes to that resistance even more? And could you say yes to it even more? And even more. And could you say yes to it even more? All right. Now measure yourself again on a scale of 0 to 10 with that resistance and see if you moved now. Maybe you went from a 7 to a 3, or a 10 to an 8, or a 10 to a 0, right? Just see where you are now. See if you moved. And you see how effective it is when you start to discriminate and make better decisions? It turns things around immediately. And it also shows you who really is in charge once that one decides to be in charge. You are in charge, not your mind, not your feelings, not your tendencies. Unfortunately, for most of us, we don't act that way. Our tendencies own us. Our feelings own us. Our mind owns us. But it doesn't have to be that way. And so this is just a simple demonstration. But if you really want to undo your mind and take back your power over your mind and ego permanently and be free, just like these other enlightened ones that I'm sure you know of, that you've listened to, you can be that way too. And you can be that way now by joining us for a special 6-week course called the Mind Freedom Course, starting this April. It's a very advanced releasing course that goes way beyond what we're doing here. This is just the slightest of tastes. But we're going to go dig deep into that mind and unravel all these automatic tendencies and programs and discover who we really are in a very real and experiential way, in a way that we can demonstrate and prove out in the world. So I'll leave a link to it up here and also in the description below on this video, so you can get more details and join us on this new course. But make a decision for yourself. What is your purpose in life? Do you want to be stuck, or do you want to be free? It really is up to you. It's not up to anybody else but you.